Have you also noticed that this world is clearly not suited for an adequate, sane person? If you look at it with a clear, conscious perspective, it becomes clear that you can feel easy and comfortable. Only in that case if you're an idiot. Because only an idiot would wear a mask to protect themselves from a virus, for whom this mask is like a net for a fly. Because only a moron would think that war is war and not a cold deal. Because only an idiot would believe in the green agenda and try to save the planet. As the great said, leave the planet alone. It's fine. It's the people who are in trouble. Everything that is considered normal in this world, it's abnormal. It's abnormal not to have a choice in truly significant matters. But you can always have access to 50 types of beer and 30 brands of cigarettes. It's abnormal not to get triggered by loud music in a cafe that literally makes your brain feel like it's falling apart. It's abnormal to let the state into your personal relationships, putting a stamp in your passport. And if everything I've said resonates with you, resist to avoid becoming normal in this messed up world. Resist with all your might to avoid becoming normal in the eyes of this completely messed up world. Anton, how would you comment on that?
What a bold young man. Well, it's funny to look at that. Yeah, maybe even get a little energized.
Do you share this opinion?
Well, on one hand, it's certainly hard to deny what he's saying. For the most part. On the other hand, state didn't intrude into relationships for no reason. People have stopped coping. Moral qualities have declined so much, so it became necessary to involve the state. Moral and ethical qualities, values. So why did this happen? And that's a completely different topic for discussion. That is, what is in this video? Well, more or less, well, yes, that's it. But that doesn't stop us from continuing to launch rockets into space. And into space, each other, to develop computer systems, to master artificial intelligence, to create quantum computers. So all of this is happening simultaneously. So humanity on one hand is degrading. That's an obvious fact for me. On the other hand, it helps itself survive technologically. The greater the degradation of consciousness, the higher the technology. Why is this happening? Because for about 5,000 years, the age of Kali has been upon our planet. You can even read about this age on Wikipedia. And basically, it's not like it was all that bad. It's written about this, so it's quite reasonable. And the timeframes are correct there. It's given in Wikipedia. And some general, well, at least when I last looked there, some general traits were described correctly. There are ancient texts, such as, for example, the Mahanirvana, Tantra, where the signs of this age are described in black and white. And by all indications, everything here is very much in line with the Kali Yuga. What is this for? How is it structured? Why is this happening? We have cycles. These cycles were created the Creator. It's the same as we have seasons. You can go, for example, late autumn in the forest, when the snow hasn't fallen yet, it's still muddy, all the trees are bare, the ground is lifeless. You look at everything, and you think, well, it's just okay. Then it seems like the snow has dusted everything, and some beauty has appeared. It looks all right. And in the rhythms of our universe, there are also different eras. 4. Sight has two pairs. The Kali Yuga. Here we are in the Kali Yuga, when humanity can degrade, and it does so with pleasure. You can degrade, and it does so with pleasure.
And how much longer can this go on?
They last for 400,000 years.
So we won't catch the next eras?
Not at all. No, we're fine here. You're actually really lucky that it's just starting. What will happen there in 200,000 years? One could say, known only to God.
The video contains some, let's say, beautiful quotes. I wrote them down, and I'd like to read them to you. I would like you to comment on them. The world is not suited for an adequate person. You agree?
Well, it depends on what you call it. Adequacy, in general, adequacy, the very word itself, implies that you correspond to the space you are in. Well, that means you're normal. You are like everyone else. That's why it's actually normal people, just like everyone else, who feel pretty good here. But there are people who see more, understand better, perceive more broadly. Of course, your hair will stand on end in all places from what you see here. And this is described in books. These stories are written in books. There was a legend about a wise man who knew about the coming of Kali Yuga. And he prepared himself, he stocked up on water, he stocked up on food, and he moved away from people. But at some point, he just couldn't stand being alone. He still decided to return to society. He was horrified by what he saw. And society was horrified because he was abnormal in relation to that society. He was absolutely inadequate. His society began to reject him. It tried to destroy him. He once again withdrew from society and thought deeply. Should he continue to maintain his state when the era's changed? And obviously, everyone will move in accordance with the new era. And in the end, he made a decision and smashed all his water jugs.
So basically, everything is here.
So he allowed himself to degrade as well.
But it depends on perception. It turns out...
I can't say that he did the right thing. Naturally, if I were in his place, I would never, under any circumstances. I would drink this water and no one knows how I would act in his place. No one knows. Yes, it's more of an instructive story that you should not. Having rose-colored glasses on, thinking that this world is somehow different, that's also a mistake. And the world is exactly as it is. Yes, everyone is degrading here. So, bits of consciousness come here to degrade. They have this need, they have this temptation. It's a game? Why does a person want to get pleasure from a game and set it to the highest difficulty level? He can't get through it. He gets frustrated, anxious. But still, time and again, he starts the game on the highest difficulty. Well, why does he do it? Well, because it's cool. It gets you excited. The same goes for reality. Yes, there is a place in space where the difficulties are very high. And here you can really not survive. And the conditions here are very harsh. And these conditions will become harsher and harsher. And your opportunities will become fewer and fewer, like a human. Some point, some part of the people on our planet can no longer live. They can't survive without medicine. They're not viable without it. Some part of the people can't live without foreign objects inside their bodies. They just can't. These are already cyborgs, modern ones, the same. The mechanism that supports the heartbeat, what is that if not a cyborg? A true cyborg. It's just that for now, it's still at a minimal level. It's all going to gain momentum. And at some point, people will lose the ability to reproduce. At some point, people will lose the ability to live without the help of technological devices. But at the same time, humanity will continue to exist. Yes, like a symbiosis with technology, but everything will be fine, everything will be okay. This will be an era, that period, in the realms of universal time. And so, getting worked up about it, getting nervous, being emotional, it's just feeding inorganic beings. You could say, well, okay, they go there, I go here, but I won't be shouting from every corner about it, or getting emotional, or freaking out, or trying to fight against God. The Creator made this, not a human.
What is your vision? We adapt to this world, or the world adapts to us. Like that. Does it have the property of adapting to all of us?
Of course, we adapt to the world. The world does not adapt to us. It's often proven to those people who try to swim against the current that no one will bend for them. They will bend so much they'll break.
So, we are given some kind of environment that we are currently in. And this environment apparently, yes, that's absolutely right.
This environment is called the Age of Kali. And if we're talking about me, you could ask the question like, Anton, what about you? You're going against the current swimming and you're resisting. I'm not resisting. It's important to understand. I just want to get out of here. And when you want to get out of here, you don't hinder that from happening. You're going into shadows. I can't say that I'm in the shadows right now. But if my activity is the shortest path to realizing my intention, then I will engage in that activity. For example, my Ashan, my teacher, he tries to be as inaccessible to society as possible. That's as much as possible. And the temple that is currently under construction is located so far from the nearest settlement in the swamps that if you want to go there, you won't be able to. This is his position. But I'm for now society.
The video was also mentioned. Everything that is considered normal in this world. It's not normal. How would you comment on that?
No, everything that is considered normal in this world, that's normal. That's where all the problems lie. Everyone is in their place, everyone is busy with their own thing, and this attempt to make it abnormal. It's hypocrisy. This is something that can create a lot of problems for a person. So it's a rejection, an obvious reality. So you're talking to God saying, God, are you aware that you're deeply wrong? That was such a joke. God is dead, Nietzsche. Nietzsche is dead, God. It's the same thing. Why fight with the reality around you? You don't like it here. Find a way to leave this space. And those who want to be here, they are here. And there's no need to interfere with that. It's the same as if a person wants to play a game on the highest difficulty. Yeah, let them play. Free will.
It's also mentioned in the video, if you feel comfortable in this world, you're an idiot.
What do you think? Well, you know, there's a strong temptation to insult someone and boost your own sense of importance. But the very act of boosting one's own sense of importance is already a questionable state. So why does he say that out loud? To motivate people. Why not? I can accept. Sometimes Ashan also picked out a lot of interesting words for me, after which I was really charged with motivation. I can't say those were the most pleasant words, but they definitely charged me up, that's for sure. But he didn't do it to insult me. He did it to awaken me. Well, if he calls people idiots to awaken them, then why not? Simply put, if he calls them idiots just to boost his own sense of importance, he's no different from anyone else. But here, in this video, it is still motivational. So I wouldn't worry about that word. But I wouldn't call all people idiots, just because I know a little more about this reality than most.
All right, but we are all here right now. How to preserve your divine nature. And how exactly does being in this world help?
To understand yourself, feel your heart, perceive the divine in your heart, and train the abilities to perceive, to feel your heart, to perceive the divine in your heart, to train. I have practices that I demonstrate. I practiced and trained with these practices. I know that there are other practices that can also be effective. There are practices very effective, but they are unacceptable to many in the modern world. To a large number of people, for example, the modern world. But in the countries I've been to, there is no modern world. And there, these practices are quite acceptable. I, for example, am currently referring to Akori. That's a path. Those are practices.
And what's on this path? What are the nuances?
Akori, well, running naked through the cemetery and covering yourself with corpse ash.
In the name of what?
Shiva. No, well, actually, they do that, as far as I know, in the name of Dasyum, where Kalia, their worship happening. How's worship done? The worship is directed at this form, the manifested power in our universe. In this way, they open themselves up. The path to perceiving the transcendent. It's a very twisted form of asceticism, diving into reality, into illusion. Diving into reality, into illusion.
Can this be called, for example, awakening?
No, it's a practice. This practice can lead to awakening. But while a person is practicing this, it's hard to call them awakened. Basically, people who have achieved results, who have gotten what they wanted, they are, in general, just happy.
What does awakening mean to you?
In my sense, awakening is when a person, I achieved it, the ability to perceive one's nature and the nature of the surrounding reality, such as it is. And then I opened all sorts of books containing this information and understood what was written there. This is awakening. As long as a person is searching, practicing, and training, it's very hard to call them awakened. It can be called a practice. As a sadak.
Why do many not exactly reach this state? Why don't they realize the truth of what is happening?
But why do they need it? Why does a person who started a game on the highest difficulty level get so frustrated? They get frustrated, break the monitor, throw the joystick against the wall, hit the keyboard, just turn off the game. That's it. No, he will get frustrated, anxious, and emote. Why does he do that? This is the nature of human free will. It's his choice.
Our will is suppressed by the mass media, like events happening in the world. manipulations from the outside. So let's say, well, listen, I know many cases where in a person's public activity,
They were suppressed, yes. He came into his family and he starts to show off like that. A person will still find a way to free their will. Still,
and what will help him with that?
in the end, he will retreat into his imaginary worlds, and there he will find freedom. To realize his free will.
And what can this ultimately lead to? The realization of one's true self, one's freedom, will.
It can't lead to anything. It's his opportunity as a person. We have free will. If you want to degrade, go ahead and degrade. If you want to grow, then grow. If you want to fantasize, go ahead, fantasize. If you want to resist the entire universe to fight with God, then go ahead and fight. This is what free will is.
Well, I'm sure everyone dreams of living in peace, in pleasure.
So live.
It's not working.
It's not working, then train. How? Well, look, what do you want? What does peace and tranquility mean to you?
To feel the life process as a whole, in any sphere and environment. How can you achieve this?
Through love in the heart. If you have love in your heart, you can find pleasure in any activity.
How do you awaken this love?
Train. Read mantras for 15, 16 hours a day. Meditate 24/7. Engage in ascetic practices. In the end, a course in practical energy, a course on transcendent speed, the upcoming course on the fiery pillar. That's it. This gives you the opportunity to realize what we're talking about in one way or another. You need to take action. You need to work hard. You need to work on yourself to develop yourself. And through self-development, sooner or later, you reach a state where it suddenly becomes clear that to be happy, you don't even need to get up from your couch.
So what will happen to a person if, for example, they don't want to develop? If he will grow old and die, then he will remain in this process of degradation, meaning he won't move towards development. What will happen to him?
First, he will grow old, just like everyone else. Then, well, he will become flabby, weak and vulnerable, and everything else on the list. Then his physical body will break down. Everything else on the list. Then his physical body will break down, perish. Then his energy body will perish. It will fall apart. And only a fragment of consciousness will remain, the one that actually came here. And then, in most cases, the following process will occur. A fragment of consciousness enters the transition space, the space of Bordeaux. Well, or purgatory, as it's referred to in Christianity. If we're talking about that, it's all the same term. In this purgatory, he is horrified, scared, because there your spectrum of perception sharply increases. And you realize who you are, what you have created. You mostly get horrified and completely spasm into a little black crystal of consciousness. He doesn't completely disappear. He is heading to a specific point in space called the first gate. In the past, this space was described very accurately in the Bible, but then there appeared devils with pitchforks, fiery, all of that, and it no longer corresponds to reality. At first, it was a space. The first texts describe it quite accurately. You can look it up on the internet, so I won't be speaking without evidence. And, man, without the ability to perceive, in the form of a little black crystal, it lies in this space until the Mahapralaya.
What happens next?
The Mahapralaya, everything becomes a point. All personalities are destroyed at that moment. Only the original ones remain. And then this original one begins to dive into the edical. And with that, the cycle is complete. This is the Mahapala. Everything manifested is completely destroyed. And then the cycle starts all over again. They survive, they endure. This state is only for a being called a rishi. They have some incredible ability. Well, how incredible? I've already gained knowledge about how they did it. All that's to repeat. But there are beings that experience this state. They don't merge into a point. They don't go into the edical. And they simply welcome the emergence of a new original.
Interesting process.
Well, it's described in the books. This is, you can check. I'm just imagining I'm sitting here. Or these books are 5,000 years old. Basically, no one hides them.
What books, for example?
Minic literature. There are many different ones. And in each book, this process is described in different ways.
Thank you for your answers. Make sure to write down your questions and impressions. Maybe we'll answer them in the next video?
Do you want to unlock your inner strength and learn to manage energy? The course, Power of Consciousness 1. Practical energy will provide you with tools to improve health, develop intuition, and gain a deeper understanding of the world. Join and start changing your life right now. Link in the description.